Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud graduate. I am here to celebrate the successes of our alum, and together we will share stories that will inspire, uplift, and often amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experiences while attending the college and the secrets to their success. The Alumni Association is preparing many upcoming events, and you, as an alum, can be part of the action. Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and our web pages at ncc.edu/alumni. If you, our listening audience, have any positive news you would like to share about alumni happenings, we would love to hear from you. So email us at ncc.edu/alumni. Today's guest is Kevin Sabella. Kevin is a proud alum of Nassau Community College, class of 2015. Currently, Kevin is serving on the Alumni Association Board and loves being back on campus. He was born and raised in Lindenhurst and attended Lindenhurst School District Special Education Program from pre-K through 12th grade. Kevin Sabella graduated from Stony Brook University with a bachelor's degree in political science in 2012 and a master's degree in public policy from Stony Brook University in 2013. After helping his mother and father rebuild after Hurricane Sandy, Kevin Sabella Jr. received his paralegal certificate from Nassau Community College in 2014. Mr. Sabella is currently a financial service professional licensed to sell life insurance and long-term care insurance in the state of New York, helping people with life insurance, college planning, retirement planning, and long-term care. Kevin Sabella has served as the founder and president of the Babylon Young Republican Club since 2018, and in that time, he also ran for New York State Assembly as the Republican and Conservative Party candidate. During the most difficult times, he served as a campaign manager for his father, Kevin Sabella Sr., who ran for Babylon Town Councilman, earning 43% of the total vote. Kevin Sabella was also the campaign manager for Kevin Sabella Sr., who ran in 2021 and almost won with 900 votes from victory. Kevin Sabella's mission is to one day see a Republican majority in the Babylon Town Council and the position of supervisor, or at least have one Republican councilman to be a counterweight to the Democratic majority. Welcome to Lion Tales, Kevin Sabella.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here today. So tell us about your decision early on to attend Nassau Community College.
Well, at that time, I tried for the Air Force Academy. However, I couldn't make it because of my eyes. I didn't have any depth perception. I also applied for Hofstra, and I would have gotten in Hofstra. However, it was a little bit too expensive for me at the time, and I needed to find a place that's affordable so I can at least, find a place that's reputable, affordable, and that can help me launch my career. So I heard of Nassau Community College being one of the best out there. So I decided, okay, I'll attend Nassau Community for 2 years and then get into a 4-year school. So that's how I got here. It was pretty much by chance that I went to Nassau Community College.
Right. And then when you left Nassau, you went right into Stony Brook?
Yes. I was here for 2 years. I got involved in the political science organization, which the advisor for that club was, and I don't know if he still is Professor Christopher Poulios. Mm-hmm. He's still here, I believe. And I was also involved in the student government. I was a sophomore senator with the Student Government Association. And after 2009, I transferred from Nassau Community College to Stony Brook University at a time when a recession hit, and all of my fellow high school alums were coming back, and they were applying to Stony Brook like crazy because of the cost. And I just got under the threshold. So it was like, oh, thank you, God.
So when you were at Nassau taking some of the courses, what were some of your favorite ones that you were able to take here? And
some of my favorite courses was the United States Congress, taught by Professor Poulios.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
And the United States Presidency, also taught by Professor Poulios as well.
Wow. Can you name all the presidents from the beginning to now?
I could try.
You can't do it now, but I know my son was always obsessed with the presidents when he was really little, and he always knew them by heart, but we never really knew how he knew them, but he was very interested in that. I remember when he was 4 years old, he had a President Bush Jack in the Box, and you would wind it up and it would play Hail to the Chief, and he would pop out. And that would make my father-in-law very upset. But it was just so funny that little children can really be turned on to politics as well. And so now Professor Poulios, that was one of your most favorite professors then, right?
Yeah, he was, and he still is.
Yeah.
He was the one who basically, because I was going to be a history major.
Yeah.
But then he sort of stole me away from them, and now I went from history to political science, and it led me to Stony Brook, where Stony Brook was an interesting transition from what I was used to here at Nassau to being in the university setting.
Yeah.
It was rather interesting because, when you're a Republican being dropped into a campus that, like Stony Brook, where Stony Brook is a wonderful campus. I would never knock Stony Brook. I loved my time there. But I did find out that it was named the Berkeley of the East.
Oh.
Which was a nickname because I was like, okay, I don't see it being that bad, but okay. And that was still back in the day when it was on the tail end, I believe, where Republicans and Democrats and other political persuasions were able to get together and have civil conversations.
Right. Yeah, I think now, and also I think, historically, like if you're a history major, what would be the difference between a history major and then a political science major? What do you think? How do you differentiate between the two? Would it be the same or different?
I would say it has many similarities, many overlaps. I would say one of the only differences would be you're piecing together a time period that is long past through documentations, through eyewitness accounts, through now with video and audio. And with political science, you're studying how people think, how different political systems operate. Also, you see what has worked, what has not worked from past case studies from all around the world and even across the country. So whenever I see somebody proposing an idea for something, I go, it was tried in this other part of the world and didn't work, and it was also tried in this state and didn't work.
Right. I was very surprised about the sudden resignation of the Prime Minister in England. Only because I think they said it was a 43-day service, and I had never heard of her before. Obviously, I guess if you lived in England, you may be more familiar with her, but I think that is, something to be talked about worldwide.
Absolutely.
And now you have a 42-year-old man who will be the Prime Minister who's he seemed to be greeted very well today. I thought that was really interesting about the fact that, where did these candidates really come from?
It's pretty much where they usually come from is they look for a certain particular type of person. It's based on variables that are in that person's control and out of that person's control. Oftentimes I found out that candidates are chosen for a whole array of reasons. And it can be a vicious cycle choosing a candidate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, especially if you don't match particular boxes, it can be discouraging because it's, in Western democracies like the United States and UK, it's ideal that we don't judge people based on things that are out of their control, their demographical information, but
probably
the real world, it's what it is in the real world. And I would say that's the only disappointing thing about this business, but the upside is things change. If you're not the candidate today, then when if that person doesn't do well, then you can be the candidate tomorrow.
Right, that's true.
You'll be the person saying, hey, can I now have my chance to fix things up here?
And I think just even local government, state government is very, very important. I mean, the governor's race right now is probably more important than the presidential race will be.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the governors really, they really have control, and they seek out the help from the federal government.
Oh, yes.
And so whoever is that elected official, we want that person to be as strong as possible.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, right now, the Democrat Party, as it is in New York State, they're hurting because they really have nothing positive to run on. There's so much baggage that they have right now that it's in the air. I mean, you don't even have to do the research. It's just in the air. You just got to walk out, on the street and you'll see it. And I don't know if there's been a debate yet between Kathy Hochul and Lee Zeldin, but
I think it's next week.
Ah, okay.
It's at Pace University next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Close deadline. I've never heard of a gubernatorial race that was close to Election Day, especially when you have early voting that's happening.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away, and they announced today that it would be at Pace and that they're only doing one. I mean, when you talk about just our state government right now, even Kathy Hochul, she was lieutenant governor. Most people, we didn't hear of her before, but because of Governor Cuomo's issues and the pandemic and everything that was happening, she sort of became governor by default. And now it seems as though, she's leading by a certain amount of points from Lee Zeldin right now. But it's very interesting to see what will happen. And so how would you sort of, when it comes to service and, servicing in the community as an elected official, or even, let's say, a school board member, you're also elected, any type of official, why is that important to you, to serve the community?
It's important to serve the community because nobody else will. Because I've often hear about how people don't like politicians, they hate politicians, and I can understand, at times I can understand their anger. But however, our system was designed for the common person or the common man or the common woman to, if you have expertise, you bring that expertise to the office, to the elected office. And if that doesn't happen, it's no wonder you'll get, not people of skill, like if somebody's working in the transportation industry or in farming or in this and that. Instead, you're going to get people who are political appointees who fit certain boxes. And it's sad that it's gotten to that point where we don't have people of different expertise in elected office. Instead, we have people who, are big donors. They
right.
Go
it's
to
a lot of money.
They go to the steak dinners. They spend $500 on a, $500 plate fundraiser, even though the food is questionable. But it's really important to get involved in the political process to see what's going on and to see how everything works and see where you can put your contribution in rather than just being a Carl curmudgeon, blaming one politician after another, when really it's just, politicians are derived from us. We don't derive from them.
Right. And there's a lot of, blaming and finger pointing. Well, how do you think social media has now impacted the political climate?
I believe social media has impacted the political climate in a way that wasn't expected to. Ever since the election of Barack Obama, social media has taken center stage in politics. However, what we're seeing now is we're seeing a culture where one side is being shut out and the other side is flourishing. And that's not great for any kind of Western liberal democracy to have because, if you're silencing your opposition, then that's just going to embolden your opposition, and you're going to have offshoots of shows that are just going to express themselves on alternative media platforms. I mean, Twitter, for instance, they've been known to cancel people who are right-leaning libertarians, but they'll keep like the leader of Iran on, who right now the human rights abuses over there is tremendous.
Right.
But yet they'll cancel Donald Trump, which in my view was not the smartest thing to do. I can understand why they would, in their minds, think it would be the right thing to do. But Twitter was originally meant to be a public platform for everybody.
And they usually do sort of, if there's something, an inappropriate tweet, they'll sort of red flag it and then they warn you. Mm-hmm. They give you a warning. You sort of have a time to appeal.
They didn't even give him that. They just went,
Yeah, I don't think they wanted to give anyone an appeal. You were listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Kevin Sabella, class of 2015. One of the things that's interesting is that, let's say when Bill Clinton was elected, that was just the beginning of email in general. And then when Obama was elected, he didn't want to give up his BlackBerry. I mean, he just had his cell phone, and that was like a big issue about, the actual president keeping their cell phone. So, again, it's only been not a few years, but the years in which emailing and then telephones and texting has all come into play. And I think it does impact a lot of what we're reading and what we're doing now. And so it skews people's perceptions. That's why, becoming involved as a community member.
Absolutely.
What do you think you can do as more of an activist for, things that you believe in and making service your signature?
The one thing that my mother and my father always taught me was community involvement is everything from the ground up. And that's what carried me over into getting involved in politics and public policy matters. And, everything starts locally. Politics begins locally. And when you have a system where, people interact with each other who disagree with each other more and more, but there's a common love and a common goal of what's best for the community and what's best for the country, then that always gets through, even if the elected officials in the federal level or the state level are reluctant to say, okay, let's tamper down, let's lower the heat a little bit. And usually when that happens, the more zealous of both the political parties tend to make themselves out to look utterly ridiculous, whether it be Marjorie Taylor Greene in the Republican camp or whether it be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the Democrat camp.
Right.
The extremes don't last forever in both sides. And it's more because at the end of the day, the local issues are the ones that percolate. I mean, Americans right now are suffering from inflation and high taxes and, and the economy doing terribly. And those issues matter more now than, let's say, issues that Democrats think matter or that Republicans think matter, because at the end of the day, you got to listen to the majority of the people in what they're saying. I mean, and they'll tell you in polling data, they'll tell you in surveys on what they think. And ignoring those, you're ignoring them at your peril.
Yeah, and coming out of, a pandemic, I mean, I don't know if we ever expected that this could possibly happen, but thinking back when it started to unravel a little bit in, let's say, January of 2020, when we sort of got some knowledge that there was a virus and that it could be coming here, I don't know if there was really any way to keep it completely under control without it coming. I mean, there's sort of a way you can't blame anyone for it, because obviously if we could turn back the hands of time, we would never have wanted anything like that to happen.
Of course.
And I hope that for the future, any elected officials, even in the local governments, and moving up into, let's say Senate and Congress and even beyond that they understand that there's an element of fear that, people are very fearful of what would come next, and, not being able to have toilet paper or paper towels or like household items and being in the house like that, and school being delayed and all of those things. I think that the community once put their trust back.
What happened with the pandemic was that you had people who didn't like Donald Trump very much seeing an opportunity to blame him for something, and which was out of his control. If anything, he tried to stop the flow, but he was viewed as being xenophobic unfairly in that regard. Then you also had state governors that were locking down their states and causing fear and panic, as opposed to just saying, look, let's calm down, let's do self-quarantining, let's just see what we're dealing with, and then we can move appropriately. Let's just remain calm. Instead, it was just, it was leaders at the top panicking while the people at the bottom were panicking, but then there was oddly a sense of like, okay, let's just take precautions, because that's called elite panic. I learned that at Stony Brook, where elite panic is when the top is losing their stuff, and the bottom is like, okay, we'll just have to make the decisions we got to make. And
it was sort of like, I mean, you do what you think is right, even in terms of vaccinations and booster shots and all of that. Everything has to be based on what you feel the need is, not anyone sort of dictating it to you. It is available to you, but I think people also want to make their own decisions. Welcome back to Lion Tales, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Kevin Sabella, class of 2015. So tell us about your current work that you do.
Currently, I work within my father's financial practice. We have a family financial practice. We're a fully serviced firm. We specialize in life insurance, long-term care, retirement planning, college planning, and we also help employers with employee benefits. Because we always feel that, in terms of financial planning, everybody needs the basics. You need a life insurance policy. You need long-term care at some point. Because what's going on now in New York State is that they're trying to pass a law basically stating that you have to get long-term care, otherwise there's going to be a payroll tax and you're going to have to be put on a state plan, which would get you like only $35,000 benefit, which really that's nothing. You can blow through $35,000 just like that when it comes to long-term care.
Right, absolutely.
And it was actually first tried in Washington State, but then there was such a demand for applications that were coming in that every major carrier had to close their doors saying, sorry, we got to stop accepting applications. The administrative work is too much, and it stalled the program. So, but we always make sure that we tailor financial solutions to people's needs, because oftentimes I would see that people think they know what they want, but we have to look at their financial picture and say, okay, you may think you know what you want, but let's just see what your real situation is, and let's just make the best suitable financial decision for you. Give you the financial options for you, as opposed to you basing your decision based off of emotion or based off of because if you make a decision based off emotion, it could come back to bite you, and we don't want that for anybody, especially our clients. But we don't want that for anybody. That's why we're very careful. We use kid gloves.
Yeah, and trying to encourage people to kind of think about getting a life insurance policy early on if they've not had that before. I know through retirement planning that our consultant was talking about the things when he did a big presentation. He was explaining things that you needed, and then it's very depressing because it seems like everything's going toward, well, if you live and you're 62, you can get Social Security, but guess what? You don't have to take it at 62. You can wait until you're 67 if you're still alive. And if your spouse is still alive, it was kind of like, oh God, it's all about, death and taxes. So it's kind of funny.
I mean, you have to be like human to people. You can't just, scare people.
Yeah, I know. I think people are concerned about making sure their affairs are in order, and talking about all the things you accumulate, throughout your life too. And then, you really have to figure out, all right, where is everything going to go? So who's been your biggest inspiration in your life to get you to this point where, you have all these successes?
I would say it has to be my mother and father in my personal life. As far as, historical heroes, I would say it would have to be, like a Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan, because for me, it was like, it's always never giving up. It's always, if you fail once, try again. And
trust and verify.
Always. As cool as, and also my father also taught me, Kevin, everything you do is a business. Whether people want to accept it or not. And that ties into Calvin Coolidge, one of my favorite quotes: the principal business of America is business. The Americans love to buy, they love to sell, they love to invest. And that's kind of what led me into politics, because I'm seeing what the voter wants. And the voter just wants the main things: job, security, financial security, family, home.
Right. And some type of calm
Oh, absolutely.
When we say, peace in the world and peace on the home front, that's true. But I think people are looking for a semblance of calm so that they can continue, because we've had such a disruption.
A calm and trust that the American people will do the right thing for themselves and not have a government or have a authority force telling them, okay, you do this, because that kind of system never works and never will work.
Yeah, and I think, I know that we do live in the greatest country in the world. I mean, if you travel outside of the country, it's great to visit, but when you're leaving, you're happy. Then you say there's no place like home. You do want to be back home, and so we're very lucky in that case. Do you believe everyone upon their high school graduation should pursue a college career? Coming, now we're this is 2023, and we're 23 years into the 21st century in the millennium. And now there's a lot of students coming out of the high school that are like, I don't think I'm not going to go to school. I might do something else. How do you feel about that? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, be very sure what you want to do as early as possible. And also, you don't have to go to college. Mm-hmm. Because in my college career, in my career in general, I saw a lot of people drop out of college and they're still paying off student loans and they have no degree. And I also know people who didn't go to college, but they went to training and technical training schools, and they were and they're now earning, they're now in wonderful, rewarding careers, because right now, what we have right now is the quality of a university education in general. It's being frowned upon now because when you look at YouTube clips and you see radical professors and people of that kind of ilk, teaching just stuff that I wouldn't teach a college student, because college students should be learning how to, survive and thrive,
navigate the world,
and navigate the world. And that's why I believe that if you're going to go to college, make sure it's right for you. Try not to take out a student loan that you won't be able to pay off, and keep the cost to a minimum. I mean, I see college students who are getting $300,000 in debt. I'm going, how did you accumulate all that debt?
Yeah, we have to really be smart about that. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Kevin Sabella, Alumni Association member and proud Nassau Community College graduate, class of 2015. I would like to thank our guest, Kevin Sabella. How can our listeners contact you?
They can contact me by email, which is ksabella2007@gmail.com.
I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud alum. Lion Tales is also available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. More information is online at nassaucommunitycollegeradio.org. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales here on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC.